we present to you the outlier of this year's Bible of Bike tests. Dual remote lockouts, a big negative stem, and a lot of tiny little knobs. The Trek Top Fuel is not the racer-only World Cup winning machine that the new Super Caliber is, but we definitely put it outside its comfort zone here in Park City, Utah.
So, I have to say that I'm not a cross-country racer.
Get out.
Shut up.
I don't really like teeny little whippersnapper bikes, but
Shut the front door.
this bike was one of my favorite bikes of the test. It's actually up there, like, in contention for my favorite. And not 100% because of how it handles terrain, but because for me, it's more than a bike. It's like a philosophy. Like, I think that this is where cross-country should be.
So, all right, expand upon that, please.
I just think that the World Cup race bikes are like a little bit too edgy. And if people were riding bikes like the Top Fuel, maybe they'd be having a little bit more fun.
Fair enough, but shouldn't you let the World Cup racers decide what the World Cup race bikes should be?
Yeah, I mean, I can't make that decision for them.
Neither can I. But to your point, I get it. Like, this is a modern cross-country bike. It's more aggressive in its geometry in terms of the terrain it should hit than what cross-country bikes have been in the past.
Yeah.
But it is still super light, and it goes uphill like it's being chased by scary things. So that's a really bad metaphor, but this thing climbs beautifully.
Yeah, it really does.
Yeah, well, it's got super lightweight, it's got a lot of efficiency, and it climbs beautifully, albeit lurchy.
You say that. I did not agree with that. I thought it climbed really well, and it didn't feel lurchy to me.
Yeah,
And
I mean-
it was like 10 minutes faster than any other bike up the hill that I was riding on this whole week of self-abuse.
You don't think that this thing required, and I do agree that it climbed really well. It's light, it accelerates out of corners like nothing else to test, and it should at that weight and what its design is. However, don't you feel like it needed a little bit more rider input, which an old geezer like you is used to doing with these kind of angles?
Not really. I had a super light feel to the handlebar. It felt like it would just whip around those Rudy switchbacks without any problem at all.
I was
That it
oversteering
did,
the crap out of
definitely.
all the
Yeah,
corners.
me
I was
too.
just like, oversteering.
Yeah, I mean,
because it handles so fast and quick, which,
Yeah.
I mean, it's great for like what it is, right? I mean,
Yes.
what you're doing is you're kind of comparing it to like the other trail bikes that we have. And this bike is an outlier for the bikes in this test.
I'm going to do that because I am riding them back to back.
Yeah,
As
but
you will.
compared to like other bikes in its class, I feel like it's a pretty smooth climber. Like it's,
Fair
I mean,
enough.
compared to the BMC we rode last year,
Yeah.
it's like
Cadillac.
yeah, Cadillac, but still quick. You know, that bike felt like it was slowing me down on the climbs because it was so rough, and like the Top Fuel is different. Like for me, it's got pretty big tires. Like it's got 2.4s on it.
Without a lot of knob, but yeah.
Without a lot of knob, but like you can run lower pressure with it, which helped a lot on our like really rooty climbs. And then, you know, like when you're on smoother stuff, I really like the RockShox. It's funny because this bike is spec'd with Fox.
Indeed.
But it has
Yeah.
that RockShox like grip shift lockout, which is really cool.
Works brilliantly, it really does.
Right. It locks out front and rear at the same time.
Yeah.
You twist it this way, lock it out. If you release it to its resting state, the bike is open, which is sort of what it feels like that should be.
I think it's a fantastic bit of kit and an interesting spec to crossbreed those two companies, but works really well.
Yeah, no one caught fire because of it, right? Like,
Don't think so.
None of us were struck by lightning for
No.
heresy or.
You almost hit a moose. I mean, that did happen.
Yeah, well.
The climbing, like, it's superlative, right? Because of what it's designed to do and how light it is and how everything works in unison so well. No, I did feel like I had a lot of rider input in there, but I also felt like with a 75-degree seat tube angle, I did have to keep sliding up on the saddle a little bit to find that sweet spot.
Yeah, you like it. You wanted it to be a little bit steeper.
I did, yeah.
I was pretty happy with it, honestly. But I definitely, I mean, it's like I haven't really ridden a bike with too steep of a seat angle, so it's like, kind of why not make it really steep?
Why
right?
not?
Isn't that where everything's going, though? Like, we are in this, like, the steepening.
The steepening.
And the
There it
fact
is,
that
the
we're
steepening.
talking about a 75-degree seat angle being maybe at the slack end of the spectrum these days, whereas 2 years ago we would have been applauding it.
Right, and and also it's only got 115 millimeters of travel, actually, which is kind of a lot for this bike. It's the most that the Top Fuel's ever had, but it's not a ton of travel to like sag into and like keep reducing that seat angle back as you're going through the travel. So it's like it's not super steep, but it remains at that relative angle. and it's got like a pretty burly fork on it, the Fox 34, which I thought the thing was awesome. Like it was like kind of a relief to me to just not have a whippy little 32 on there. Like the steering precision was good. Like you could really push into this
For
bike.
intent of the bike, that is a burlier fork than you think. I thought when it comes to spec, I thought all of that was really nice, and it's an expensive bike, but the spec sort of reflects that.
Yeah.
For me, if it was my bike, I would want Meteor tires, which would compromise the other awesome aspects of it. And I would probably want like another 10 millimeters of fork travel, which then would make the seat angle a bit slacker, and probably mess with the identity of the bike. I would
and then
want.
you would just get a Fuel EX.
Okay, so
Just explain the Fuel
I'd be
EX,
fine
yes.
leaving the fork as it is, but I definitely wouldn't want that stem.
I wouldn't
The
either.
stem bothered me.
Yeah. It bothered me a lot at first too, and I was like, I've got to switch this thing out. But I gave it a chance, and I actually was able to ride this bike back home in Bellingham before coming here, and so I had a little bit more time to get used to it. And after a while, I was like, okay. It was kind of just harkened me back to the olden days, and I was like, oh, I know this position. I think I can handle this, But like, and I think that's what racers are looking for. People who are gonna buy this bike, people who are looking at this bike are either like recovering XC racers or like current marathoners,
Yep.
like long
Yep.
distance racers, and that's like the attack position that they want to be in, right?
You are in the attack position for sure. You can't really flip it over either, because then it becomes a comfort stem.
That's what I didn't
That's the
like about
problem.
the stem, was that it was a reverse angle stem that the bar position didn't bother me at all. I didn't think that was too low or too racy. It felt great. I just didn't like the fact that you could have achieved the same thing with a few less spacers and a 0-degree stem.
Yeah.
And I think it would have looked better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is.
That's
an
my
aesthetic
niggle.
choice.
Can confirm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can confirm.
Yeah. Well, it was the without a doubt the fastest bike on that loop, right?
Yeah.
With the slowest drop proposed.
Yeah. The Bontrager post is not my favorite. It's not our favorite, is it?
No.
It held it up a little bit. It really did. It's going that fast, you're moving, and it definitely pooches its way up.
Yeah, I mean, it's like we haven't had a ton of reliability issues with it, but it's just not up to par, especially for a bike at this price level,
Takes a bit of effort to squish it down, comes up kind of slow.
Yeah. But other than that, yeah, like pretty solid spec. Man, like there were trails here in Park City that we were riding on that were just like these ribbony fast bits that I was like, this is the perfect bike for this. Like there is not a faster bike on the planet for some of these trails.
It was mind blowing how fast you could go around a really steep turn on it. It's like
Oh,
a
yeah.
switchback or anything with this. It's just like,
Unbelievable. Yeah.
what happened?
But then again, it does get a little bit hairy when you start going super fast down rough stuff.
Yeah, when you get it on really steep stuff, you've got to, use your skills. It's not like giving you any favors, right?
No, I had to stop, shake my hands out at one point, because it was really fun pushing it, going that fast and seeing what it was capable of. But then I was like, I overdid it. Had to stop for a second, shake it out,
Yeah.
get back after it.
I'd really like to see some like hardtail addicts check out this bike, because I think they'd be pretty impressed with how fast you could be on full size.
And I think a lot of cross-country racers would be blown away by the extended range of capability that it has.
There now is a bike above it in the hierarchy of track cross-country racing, right?
Yeah, and that's obviously what this, so the Super Caliber is obviously what like the XC pros are going to use. I would say that unless you're racing every weekend and you're like, trying to get paid to do it, consider this bike instead, because
that thing has
it's more well-rounded.
Yeah, and that thing has 60 millimeters of travel, which kind of puts it in. You are debating whether to keep your hardtail or you want something that has a little more tractability or comfort than that, but it's not really what you would think of as a trail bike at all, by any stretch.
If you really love doing your local race series and stuff, like you don't necessarily need to have the fastest bike in the stable. You need to have one that you can ride all the time. And this is that.
I think it's very, sorry Mike, I think it'd be very competitive. Cross-country courses are getting much more technical.
Yeah.
And I think it's very competitive.
I think it's a very capable race bike, and at the same time, if you live somewhere that's not just totally aggro, rock garden, death hill type of thing, it's a pretty capable trail bike. Like it's got a lot of versatility to it.
The new Top Fuel is not without compromise, but we think you get plenty to make up for what you give up. For a light-duty trail bike, it's not a point and shoot, but it's insanely fast. For an XC racer, it's not a hardtail, but it's not a hardtail. We've got its full review and the rest of the Bible Bike Test videos at bikemag.com.